Alright, Space Empires 5, Romulan Star Empire, String Theory, Turn 1. Let's load up the game and see what kind of start we rolled. I am Romulan Star Empire, these are all my opponents, they're all played by humans. I'm going to enter my very secret password, the Warp Bird, not the Warbird, the Warp Bird. I am very funny. And we are in the corner of the map, it looks like. If you've watched or recall my Turn Zero video where I've gone through my game setup, I've explained the basic strategy behind my empire. I'm going to go for a boom, a colonization rush, and being in the corner is not the best. I would have preferred to be somewhere in the middle of the map if at all possible. But alas, I did not cheat myself a better starting position, and I'm going to have to make do with this corner start. We have 2 war points at the start here in our starting system. That's fine. And we have 1 breather, a tiny hydrogen planet with actually good mineral value. Should colonize that relatively soon. What else do we have? A few other planets. Gas giant, huge. Hydrogen. Wouldn't the gas giant also be breathable? Rock, ice, ice. Did I forget to select gas giant colonization during the game setup? I might have. Let's check. I did. I must have played around with picking gas planets as my default start and just chose rock and ice in the game setup files and left gas unselected because if I'm a gas race I would start with gas anyway. But then I must have picked ice instead, and now I've started without gas planet colonization. In a high research point start, you generally want to start with all 3 colonization tags because they're just so impactful. And to have blundered so hard as to forget one of the colonization tags turn 1 is quite a setback, honestly. That's too bad, because a huge hydrogen planet, which would be a breathable planet for us because we are a hydrogen race, would have been quite a start. I could have pumped this thing full research facilities and been off to a great start. There's a second huge hydrogen planet as well. Oh man. Okay. At the first turn you get these 20k extra research points. I'm going to just pump them all into this gas giant colonization. Afterwards we're only going to get, what, 744 points, which means we're going to be spending the first 20 or so turns on research, just spending them on gas giant colonization. Oh well. We're going to be able to make do, I hope. We have this little breather that we can still snag with a good mineral value, and a few other planets around here. None of them have ruins, but it'll do. Okay, what else do we want to do? We've already picked a research target because we forgot something very important, so let's generate some basic units and ships. Let's go for a troop first, because if you do not have a troop design and your planets get invaded, you will not be able to have troops that generate. So let's just put some rocket pods on these guys. Let's give them combat sensors, let's give them armor, and we want to give them ammo. No, do we? Or should we give them ECM? Let's give them ammo. Let's put the ammo in front of the gun and put the sensor behind. And let's call that a troop. Alright. Got this potential name list, this pre-selectable name list. What kind of name do we want to give this game? Let's call him a lizard archer, sure. I'm not going to go for hardcore Romulan gameplay or roleplay in this. I'm going to pick some Romulan names, but I didn't even pick a Romulan design name list. Or rather, I didn't save correctly, so I'm just going to go with generic names for most of my units. I'm still gonna make it the Deridex or something later, once the time comes around. Strategy, optimal range. Probably going to be fine for the rocket pod ship, rocket pod troop. Let's give him a nice design type though. Troop, right. And now if our planet gets invaded early because somebody took ancient rays and saw where all the starting planets are, we're going to be able to spawn militia. Okay, let's create a small weapon platform that we are going to use to defend all our early planets. Do we want to have combat sensors or ECM on these? Combat sensors probably yes, ECM probably no. We want some armor plates. Going to want some point defense. Distribute them nicely and some missiles. Should we also put a gun on there, a direct fire weapon? Should we just go for missiles as a defense? I think the missiles are going to be enough. Okay. 3 PD guns, and let's fill the rest out with armor. This is going to have what? 120, 360, 390, 420 kilotons of armor. It's fine. Set strategy, doesn't matter for a weapon platform, but set it to maximum range and break formation. Not that they can move anyway. And sure, let's call it an archer or something. With anything more defense-like in this list? Sure, you're a stone gargoyle, because you're a static defense. Weapon platform seeker as will do. Okay, can turn the filter into non-obsolete units designs, then we can actually see the units we've designed so far. Let's also design a mine, not because we immediately want to build any, but because we can. It's just called boom. Did you know that the Klingon word for torpedo is just pang? Yes, it is. Strategy on these guys doesn't matter, but if you could kamikaze into something, you should. And you are just a regular old mine that is above ships. Then, something more interesting, fighters. We are going to want fighters for our early game colony defense. Once I build some colonies that are a few systems out, I'm going to want to be able to just queue 10 or 20 fighters and be able to secure a system and warp points that way. I'm going to be able to put 2 plasma missiles on each of these. Let's first put some engines on them. Just have 2 engines each, yes. That they're going to have 10 speed. If I put afterburners on them, then they're going to have 12 speed. It doesn't show you this in game. Or it doesn't show you this in that stat sheet, because this is movement on the strategic map. Okay. We still have 4 kilotons left over. These missiles are 8 kilotons each. Let's use the remaining space, put some electronic warfare in there to make them more accurate and less likely to get hit. Put an armor plate and some extra ammo, I suppose. I'll put the weapon on an inside slot. Not sure fighters actually get hit like ships, and it matters in which direction they get hit in. Put the more, you would put the more important system inside the ship, the less important systems outside the ship. Okay. They have 20 units of ordnance by default, which means for 2 ordnance a shot that they can shoot 10 times. Since they have a fire rate of 10 seconds, that means 100 seconds of fire. If I have 24 ordnance extra, that means 44 divided by 2 is 22 shots, means 220 seconds of continuous fire from these at 100 range. These fighters, as long as they can run away from somebody, which I hope they can with these level 3 ion engines and my speed bonus from the racial trait, will be able to kite somebody. Alright, let's just call this the kite, which almost sounds like a warbird-ish name. and give them the maximum range break strategy. Of course, we do not want to have them keep formation in any way, shape, or form. Design type is going to be fighter, regular fighter. Bomber fighters are usually reserved for fighters that are made to bomb planets, like with planetary napalm. Okay. What else do we have? We have trips, we have ships outstanding. I don't think we need to design a base turn one. Web platforms are done, troops are done. Then let's go for ships and design our colony ship. You can see the Romulan ship set. It's actually one of the more high quality sets that you can find for Space Empires 5. Of course, by now, even these slightly smeary textures there count as a bit obsolete, but this game is from like 2005, so once upon a time this counted as high quality. Okay, I believe they can have 6 engines. Yeah, if I put in a 7th engine, it'll tell me that colony ships can only have 6 engines, so let's go for that. Let's put a rock colony module on there. Let's put some crew and life support in there. And then we have 80 kilotons remaining. Okay, there's some options. We can put a sensor in here, potentially even a scanner, to scan or detect anybody we run across. We can put stealth armor inside these as well. These only work at level to block level 2 side. So if anybody already has level 8 sensors and gets the level 3 sensor component like I have, they can already punch through the stealth armor and see ships that cloak themselves with level 1 stealth. But I'm not sure everybody will do this, so just putting a stealth armor here, being able to cloak the colony ship and escape detection that way is going to be a nice option. Also, cloaking is just neat as a Romulan role player. But I mostly picked the stealth armor as a starting tech for the scouts, honestly. We can put solar collectors on here, just to give these guys infinite range. We can put cargo components on here to give these guys extra cargo space. Normally they come with 200 kilotons. Together with this, it's going to be it's going to be 600, and then I have the 20% bonus from my racial trade for 720 kilotons. That means I can already put quite a bit of population on non-breathing colonies, which will reduce their penalty from having little pop on there. Or I can transport an additional weapons platform or fighters, but those I would need to produce at my capital first, so I don't think I want to go for a cargo setup. For my first colony ships, I think I do want to go for something with sensors and solar collectors. So, question, how much supplies does a ship actually need? A ship is going to have 9 movement. I'm not sure if actually all of these 9 movements are going to consume supplies from the engines, or if only 7 will and 2 are for free from the solar sail. I know that I checked this last month when I tried the setup in some test games, but I forgot again. So, if I have 9 movements and I have 6 engines that consume 5 supplies each per movement, I'm going to consume 6 times 5 for 30 supplies, times 9 movement. What was it? 60? 6 times 5, 30, times 9 is 270 supplies per turn, which means 3 of these solar collectors can definitely get me anywhere, and 2 will be able to still get me anywhere at decent speed. And it's going to take quite some time for these supplies to run out in the first place, so I might even be able to get away with 1 solar collector very nicely. Should I put in stealth armor? I don't know. But I am going to put in sensors And I still have 30 kilotons left over. How expensive are these components? Like 100, what, 50? They are cheaper. 30, yeah, 40 for 20 kilotons. So I would be able to build more of them if I did not put sensors in and instead just put supply storage or solar collectors in. That is an argument. I do want to build as many of them as possible, and the most expensive component cost here is minerals. I want to cut the mineral cost, keep that down. And let's go for 2 solar collectors. And just additional cargo space for population, I suppose. That's a decent enough compromise. Okay. What do we call our colony ship? Do we have any suggestions? You pull this too far to the side, the scroll wheel or the scroll bar doesn't work anymore. Do we have anything that sounds like it would conquer new worlds? Let's just call it a colonizer. Rock. Right, a rock one. Yeah, we had a rock colony module in here. Design type, likewise. Strategy is run away. I've also seen some people put missiles on their colony ships, which is a thing that you can do. Just try to take down any scouts and other colony ships that you come across, but I hope that because I have the extra engines and the solar sails and the racial trait, that my 9-speed colony ships will actually outrun anybody that comes across them. Then we make a copy of this, exchange a rock module for an ice module, call it a colonizer ice, make the design type a colonizer ice, and then we have a second one. Alright, now let's go for a scout ship. We have frigate and destroyer hulls available. For scout ship, I'm going to choose the smaller frigate. Let's put the default overhead in there. Engines I'm going to put inside, relatively inside the middle of all these outer component slots, because the engines are one of the last things that I want to have hit, even though they have these extra structure HP points. You are of course going to get a solar sail because as a scout you want to be fast, and you are of course going to get solar collectors. You have 4 engines and you have 11 speed, which means you are going to use 220 supplies if you move all these 11 hexes per turn. And this will make you 200 supplies in a regular single star system per turn, which means this is almost enough to cover the entire flight cost of the ship. Good. Then you are of course going to get that stealth armor. You are of course also going to get the sensor. The sensor actually going to put inside an inside slot, because I also want to be able to see what is around a ship if it is dead in the water. I want the sensor to be one of the last components to be hit. And you are of course going to get the scanner. I could also put a scanner jammer in there. You unlock those along with the regular scanners. I could also put a laser in here and take out targets of opportunity. Just turn off the stealth sheeting and take out lone colony ships or the like. Alternatively, I could put in what? I don't need more supply storage or generation. I can't put in extra sensors. I could put in more warfare capabilities. Oh, I could cut a scanner and put a missile in, but then I need to worry about also carrying ordnance. I think if I have solar collectors in here, having a laser that just shoots supplies is going to be fine. It doesn't need to be the best weapon, it just needs to be a weapon to be able to take down civilian ships and other scouts. So this would do. Okay, this is going to be my scout ship. Strategy is actually going to be do not get hurt. If I want the ship to shoot somebody, I'm going to put it in a fleet and set the task force strategy to attack, which will override the strategy from the design. But per default, I do want it to run away because a single laser is not very impressive together with the defense of an entire stealth sheet. Your ship type is going to be Explorer. There you go. And your name is going to be Hawk. Actually, let's name you an Eagle. I think the Hawk was already a Romulan warship name or something. Eagle sounds more like it keeps an eye on things. Eagle-eyed, you know, because sensors and scanners. Okay. I think that's all the important ship designs we need in turn 1. We could see what we could afford for a warship. Let's take a military ship, design something. We got 6 engines on the destroyer. Give you some missive armor, because why not? You will get sensors and ECM, multiplex tracking. It stacks with the regular combat sensors, but it only adds 5 additional points, whereas the regular combat sensors adds 40 points. I think that's too much for overhead for a small destroyer like this. And our weapons are, of course, missiles. Okay, missiles we already cannot have 2 on a ship like this. We need to cut down on either the armor, which is already pretty thin, or we need to be living with just ships that have 1 missile. Then we can have additional armor and point defense. I do want to have 1 or 2 point defense cannons, or point defense and a flak cannon or something on these. And more than just 2 plates. Something like this would be the ideal early game warship that I am thinking of, but a hull cannot fit all this. So we need to decide either 1 engine or 1 missile less, or we cut down on, I guess, point defense and ECM. Having just 1 emissive armor is not a lot. It's 50 kilotons in the emissive armor in HP. We put light armor in, we get 60 kilotons out of 10. That's not even enough to take a default capital ship missile hit. They do 100 by default. 1 point defense cannon is also not exactly impressive defense. But these ships are plasma missile armed, which means that they have gobs of range and should be able to get out of or keep out of harm's way most of the time. The combat sensor is still going to be able to apply to the to the point defense cannons to be able to make this thing better at shooting down incoming missiles. Maybe somebody else also took plasma missiles or something like the organic racial missiles that also have quite a bit of range. So I think that's going to be important for defense. Or maybe somebody's going to send fighters after us, and fighters can obviously not be shot by the plasma missiles. Plasma missiles cannot shoot fighters. Okay. Then I'm going to put for the remaining 5 kilotons of ordnance storage on here. This ups our ordnance capacity from 200 to 300, and that means we can shoot 60 missiles. And we shoot 2 missiles at once, which means 30 salvos, a 5 seconds, 150 seconds of continuous fire. That's fine. Okay, this is going to be a hawk. Strategy with you is also going to be maximum range break. You want to kite people as much as you can. Type is ship Seeker S. Was your Seeker armed? Alright. I don't think we're going to be able to build this ship soon for early game defense. We want to be able to realize with weapon platforms and fighters. But this way we at least have a design for a warship. Once we actually need warships, we're going to analyze what the opponent has that we have, and then maybe build this, maybe build something different. Who knows? We could also build stations or design stations. We have space yacht components that build with 350 per turn. It's not too bad. We could also make mining stations. We have all the mining modules unlocked already because I invested 2 or 4 levels into the mining and farming tax here. But we don't have anything that builds them yet. For that we would need a ship that has a space yacht module on it, a small yard ship. Could we design one of those? Oh, they can only have 4 engines as well, okay. Okay, let's put in the overhead modules. Life support. And yes, then you still have enough space for a shipyard. No, you don't. You have 130 already taken. Even if you cut down on your engines, then you would only be able to have 1 engine and still be able to fit the space yard. Space yacht ship that moves at 2 speed is very, very slow. I don't think we want to build this. This is a small fighter level 2. I think we need to have a higher level of small ships to be able to really use this as a yard ship. Normally I would go for medium-sized freighters if I have the option to go for to make yard ships, but I didn't start with that tech. Question. Our next level of small ship construction is not going to give us small freighters 3, so it's also not something we were going to get sometime in the early future. Okay. We're not going to be able to, we're not going to build mining stations very soon anyway, even though we would have some nice asteroid belts in our home system to start with. We run out of rats. We have a nice rats belt here, we have a nice minerals belt here, and we have a nice organics belt here, or more rats. Of course, if we wanted to, we could also mine the planets, but we cannot colonize them, which is generally better than mining them from orbit. Alright, we've done our designs. Let's queue something up. I don't think I've talked about this in the game setup, but I've also started with Planet Utilization Level 3, which gives me the option to build atmospheric modification plans right from the start, which is going to turn any planet into a breathable planet and quintuple its usable build space in 70 turns. Not sure how early I'm going to build many of these, but if I do not get allies and migration pacts in place, I do have an option to get myself a ton of breathable planets by the mid-game. And there's also the value improvement plans, which is just plain nice to have. Ah yes, and we started with the extra facilities because we have the extra cargo space and facility space trade. Normally starting plan is always 20 kilotons. This one is 24 kilotons. The algorithm gave us these extra 2 research centers and extra 2 or extra organic facility and mining facility here. Okay, then, to start with, we do not immediately want to colonize any planets in our home system. We have this tiny breather here, but that is not necessarily a priority. So let us build 2 scouts first, which we're going to send through the warp points that we have. We're going to want more than 2 pretty soon. And after that, we can queue up colony ships. Let's just queue up our ice rock like this. And we are going to definitely find targets for them sooner than later. Okay, there's nothing else to do turn 1. We could go through our settings. We have that extra miner and that extra farm, so our income is a bit skewed at the moment towards minerals and organics. Organics, we're going to have more than we need. Minerals is going to go down pretty soon once we start building stuff. We can go through some display settings. I don't think I need to change anything here. Next previous. Should skip constructing items. Should stop at each location once. That's my default settings. Food is fine. System display is fine. What we want to do is go into minister settings and turn off AI controls player in absence. If any of the players do not put in orders for turn, the AI will play this for them otherwise, and this will usually fuck things up because it'll delete move orders, delete your queues, delete your research. So you generally want to have this offline in multiplayer games if you can. Other ministers, I'm going to turn on only ships or naming. If we have a ship and we refit it from, I don't know, Hawk 1 to Hawk 2, it'll also adjust the name. That's pretty neat. That's all that Minister does. Okay, that's it for the turn. I am going to upload this, process the turn file, and we will see each other in turn 2.